Have you ever been really, really excited for a trip? Bags packed,
Yeah.
boarding pass on your phone. Maybe you're already mentally on the beach.
Oh, yeah, completely checked out.
And then, bam, everything just stops. A notification buzzes, delay, then another cancellation. And your whole plan just, well, unravels. It's that awful travel feeling.
It really is the worst kind of disruption, isn't it? Because these complex systems that we rely on for travel, when they fail, the ripple effect is just huge. It hits passengers hard, sure, but it also shakes the companies themselves.
Right, an absolute nightmare scenario. And that's exactly what we're digging into today. We're doing a deep dive into that massive holiday meltdown at Southwest Airlines back in 2024.
We've got your sources lined up. There's an internal class recording, a news report, some really detailed analysis. The idea is to get past those initial headlines.
Yeah, to figure out what really went wrong.
Exactly. Our mission here is to uncover the actual reasons for the chaos, get a better grip on Southwest's pretty unique business model, and look at what it takes for a big airline like that to handle these huge challenges and maybe innovate a bit for the future.
We want to give you those key insights, the nuggets that leave you feeling like you really understand this whole situation.
Okay, so let's get into it. You mentioned you flew Southwest recently.
I did, to Minneapolis, though it took a bit of a scenic route.
Oh.
Yeah, I ended up flying to Phoenix first, added about 6 hours of flight time before looping back up north to Minneapolis. So I definitely got the full Southwest experience.
Huh. Well, that experience probably touches on some of their unique quirks and maybe some of the complexities and how they operate.
Totally. Like even booking the flight. Have you ever noticed they show like 4 different prices for the exact same flight? And the cheapest one is always like hidden way over on the far right.
Yes. And that's not random. It ties right into their whole open seating thing, another classic Southwest feature.
The ABC zones. The boarding race.
That whole scramble to get on and grab a seat, yeah.
Oh, I've been in that race, definitely. And what I always notice, it's funny, the A group people, they almost always sit right up front. B group fills the middle, C group heads to the back.
Even though the seats are identical.
Exactly. The seats are the same, but somehow Southwest manages to charge different prices just based on your position in line. It's kind of brilliant, actually.
And really effective, because those little upsells, paying for early bird check-in so you get a better boarding spot, they add up.
How much does they add up?
Well, in 2021, Southwest apparently made over $4 billion just from those kinds of ancillary fees, the upsells, and getting people to book directly on their site.
$4 billion. Just from, like, getting a better spot in line and booking direct. Wow.
Yeah, and that direct booking part is key. They really push you to their website, not Expedia or other travel sites.
Why is that so important for them?
Big cost savings. They avoid paying fees to what are called global distribution systems, or GDS. And they don't pay commissions to Expedia and the like, which can be, 10, maybe 15% of the ticket price. It keeps more money in their pocket.
Okay, so that's the model they've had for ages.
Yeah.
But it sounds like things might be changing.
That's the big question now.
I was actually chatting with some Southwest employees on my last trip, and they mentioned, kind of confirmed really, a big shift coming around next January. They're apparently planning to start charging for checked bags and bring in assigned seating.
Whoa. Okay, that's huge for Southwest. It really makes you wonder about the positioning in the market.
How so?
Well, for decades, Southwest was the low-cost airline, right? Competing with Spirit, Frontier, no frills, but assigned seating, checked bag fees. That sounds much more like the legacy carriers, American, Delta, United.
So are they kind of moving away from that budget identity? Trying to compete head-to-head with the big guys?
It definitely looks like a strategic pivot, doesn't it? And it's not just the seats and bags. They've also been quietly expanding where they fly.
Right, they already do international flights, like to Mexico and the Caribbean.
Exactly. And you start thinking, well, what's next? Could they do longer international routes? Maybe New York to London? It's actually not that much further than their flights to Hawaii.
Huh. Never thought of it that way.
The big hurdle there might just be the food. You can't really fly transatlantic offering just,
A dozen little tiny pretzels.
Right.
That's literally what I got on my 3-hour flight. This tiny bag, maybe 12 little twists, just enough to make you remember you like pretzels and then want to buy a proper bag later.
So yeah, if they're going long-haul international, the snack game needs a serious upgrade.
Definitely. But okay, beyond those customer things, part of Southwest's whole magic, there's always been operational efficiency, right? Because they only fly one type of plane.
That's a huge part of it. Only Boeing 737s. Think about it. Any pilot can fly any plane. Any maintenance crew can work on any plane. All the parts are interchangeable. It creates incredible flexibility in normal times.
Normal times. And they also have that point-to-point network, lots of little hops instead of big hubs.
Correct. Not the hub and spoke system most big airlines use. Again, super efficient when everything's running smoothly. But
when things go wrong, like a massive winter storm.
that's exactly it. That efficient point-to-point system suddenly becomes a massive liability during widespread disruptions. And that leads us right into the meltdown itself.
Right, the meltdown. It was so bad, so frustrating for so many people. It even ended up as a skit on Saturday Night Live just, 2 weeks later?
Yeah, that's when you know it's hit the mainstream consciousness.
They were joking about them using, 2008 Dell computers, sorting bags by color, having a Starbucks lounge, hiring Waffle House staff. It really showed how widespread the feeling was.
And the reality was grim. Let's just recap the scale. During that holiday period in December 2024, they ended up canceling almost 17,000 flights.
17,000.
The estimated loss was around $825 million in just 10 days. And that doesn't even touch the damage to their reputation, the customer goodwill. That's way harder to put a price on.
So the first news reports were mentioning things like data connection issues, maybe a firewall failure. Was that the real story?
Not really. Those were more like symptoms, maybe. The actual causes ran much, much deeper. They exposed some really critical problems in their core systems.
Okay, like what? What was the first major issue?
Problem number one was their crew communications system,
Right.
which was astonishingly outdated.
Outdated how? What were they actually doing?
Get this. Crews found out their assignments by phone. They would literally call a central call center to get their next flight details.
Wait, pilots and flight attendants were calling a call center in 2024.
Yep. Land in a city, pick up the phone, call the center, wait to be told where you're going next. It relied entirely on human operator.
I'm just trying to picture that. Why would they stick with such a manual process for so long when automated systems have been around for ages?
It really points to that inertia you sometimes see in big companies, doesn't it? What worked okay decades ago just stuck around. But then Winter Storm Elliott hit.
And the system just collapsed.
Completely. With disruptions everywhere, crews were suddenly facing 3-hour waits on the phone just to get their next assignment.
3 hours.
Yeah. And while they were on hold, many of them timed out, hit their legal limit for how long they could be on duty.
Oh, no.
So now you have crews stranded in random cities, legally unable to fly, even if there was a plane waiting. It created this disastrous chain reaction, unstaffed flights leading to more cancellations, leading to more crews stuck, just spiraling downwards.
Wow. It seems so obvious now that, an app on a smartphone for instant assignments would be the way to go.
Absolutely. Hindsight makes it look simple.
But what stops a big, successful company from fixing a flaw like that before a crisis? Are there common blind spots?
That's a great question. It's often not just about the tech, it's about how deeply embedded these processes are, how they seem good enough until they suddenly aren't. And sometimes it's just really hard for large organizations to make those fundamental shifts, even when a better way seems obvious later.
And this wasn't the only problem, right? There was another issue with their actual scheduling software.
Exactly. Problem number 2, limitations in their main system tools. Specifically something called SkySolver and an internal tool they called the Baker.
SkySolver.
Yeah.
Sounds high-tech. What did it do?
It is, or was meant to be. It's from GE Aeronautics, uses algorithmic optimization, you could call it early AI. It's designed to juggle all those incredibly complex variables, flight schedules, where planes should go, assigning pilots and crews, but critically,
Yes.
it was built to handle maybe 300 disruptions at a time.
Okay, 300. That seems maybe not enough for a massive storm. And what was the Baker?
The Baker was Southwest's own homemade add-on. It basically fed potential schedules into SkySolver. But here's the fatal flaw. The Baker didn't have crew information.
It didn't know who was available to fly, or where they were, or if they were about to time out.
Exactly. It was missing that critical piece. So when Winter Storm Elliott hit, and we're talking thousands of disruptions, way, way beyond SkySolver's 300 limit SkySolver was essentially flying blind when it came to crews.
So spitting out schedules that looked okay on paper.
Viable solutions, it thought. But In reality,
They were impossible because there were no crews available in the right places.
precisely. It started generating these nonsensical plans, sending empty planes, deadheading them to places where there were no crews or crews who couldn't legally fly.
Which just made everything worse.
It cascaded, a complete meltdown, until Southwest basically had to pull the plug and do a hard reset of their entire system. Just start over.
And the really damning thing you said is that Southwest knew this was a potential weak point.
That's what the analysis suggests. They failed to address a weak point that they had already identified. The system's limitations weren't a total secret internally. It was a known vulnerability they hadn't fixed.
Wow. Okay, so that's the diagnosis. Given all that, looking forward, what should Southwest do? If you, listening right now, were advising them, what technologies, what strategies would you say they need in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? And thinking about solutions, it's interesting to consider how you get the best ideas. It's not always just execs in a room.
Right, you mentioned surveying employees.
Imagine asking, say, 4,000 employees across the company for their ideas. You get perspectives from the ground up, things you'd never think of in a traditional planning session. Some really clever, practical stuff often emerges.
And what kind of ideas came up in these discussions or analyses?
Well, some were pretty customer-focused, things you'd expect. Free Wi-Fi is a big one, right? Better loyalty programs to build brand stickiness. Using data more effectively, maybe AI to streamline the travel experience. Even things like airport lounges for frequent flyers.
Okay, making the experience better. What about fixing the operational side?
Yeah, other ideas were more about the nuts and bolts, like RFID tags to track baggage, better less lost luggage, sustainability initiatives, which are increasingly important, and yeah, better snacks or maybe even actual food options on board.
So a mix of customer perks and fixing the back end, which points to needing some serious system upgrades.
Absolutely. A complete modernization of their core enterprise architecture seems necessary. You start looking at specific systems.
Like what?
For marketing and customer relations, maybe something like Salesforce. For that critical reservation system gap, especially if they're doing assigned seating, they really need a proper mainstream airline system. Think Amadeus or Sabre, cloud-based solutions. They just don't have that right now.
So adding assigned seats isn't just flicking a switch. They need a whole new back-end system. How big a deal is that to integrate?
It's a massive undertaking. It requires huge investment, careful integration with everything else. It's like building a whole new digital foundation while the airline is still flying.
Okay, what else? Maintenance.
For maintenance, you might look at specialized systems, maybe like QNX products. Those are often used for critical real-time systems. For the overall business management, finance, HR, the ERP system, something robust, like SAP is a common starting point.
And dealing with potential future outages, like that hard reset.
Cloud infrastructure is key there, using platforms like Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services, but specifically setting up for rapid recovery, aiming for, say, 5 to 10-minute recovery times from backups. That helps fight things like ransomware attacks, too.
And replacing those terrible phone calls for crews.
Mobile apps, definitely. Dedicated apps for customers, yes, but also for pilots, for flight attendants, for maintenance crews. Get that information out instantly, reliably to their personal devices. No more call centers for basic assignments.
And AI. You mentioned SkySolver was like early AI. Can modern AI do better?
Oh, immensely better. Current AI could almost certainly handle the complexity that overwhelms SkySolver, especially if fed real-time crew data. Beyond just scheduling, AI could help with navigation, optimizing flight paths dynamically, predicting maintenance needs. It could genuinely transform the efficiency and experience.
Okay, so it's a big shopping list of new systems, a huge tech overhaul. But you also mentioned principles. What do you mean by that? It's not just about buying software, is it?
No, absolutely not. Principles are like the fundamental rules, the non-negotiables that guide how you build and use those systems. They go beyond just saying, we want things to be better. They set concrete standards.
Okay, give me an example for Southwest, based on the meltdown.
All right, take crew communication. A new principle could be, our flight crews will know their next assignment within 3 minutes via a personal device. See, it's specific, measurable, and directly addresses the call center nightmare.
Got it. No ambiguity. What else?
System resilience. How about, if our primary servers go down, we will be able to recover core operations within 10 minutes. That builds in protection against outages, cyber attacks, whatever. It demands robust backup and recovery.
And that optimization limit. The 300 disruptions.
Right. A crucial one. Our optimization systems will be capable of handling at least 5,000 simultaneous disruptions, incorporating real-time crew availability. That directly tackles the Sky Silverbaker failure point, ensuring they can handle the next major storm without collapsing.
Setting those clear principles forces the right kind of investment and design.
Exactly. They become the guardrails for the entire transformation.
Wow. We've really covered a lot of ground here, from my own slightly crazy trip to Minneapolis
Via Phoenix.
to unpacking the deep systemic failures behind that holiday meltdown, and now mapping out a pretty comprehensive path forward with new tech and, crucially, new principles.
And hopefully going through this deep dive helps you, the listener, see how these complex systems work or don't work. Understanding the levers behind successes and failures, it just makes you a more informed observer of the world, really.
Definitely. So here's a final thought to leave you with. If a company like Southwest, famous for efficiency, could have such a major known flaw hiding in plain sight within its operations, what other unseen weaknesses might be lurking in the complex systems you rely on every single day? Your bank, the power grid, social media platforms. What insights would you uncover if you could take a deep dive into those?